I had an idea for a video. I play a bunch of random free games that I find on the website itch.io because I think that's a great way to find quirky and experimental short games from new developers, and then I write short pieces on all the good games I end up playing, and when I have 30 to 60 minutes worth of mini reviews, I would turn it into a video, and if I liked the process, I would do it again. This was basically how I found out about Bird last year, which ended up being genuinely one of my favourite games of 2019, and a few years before that, Perspective, which is still one of my favourite puzzle games ever. All the good games I found would go into the video, but any great games that I found would get a standalone video of their own. One such game that I played recently was Akurra, but even though I thought Akurra was a great game, I wasn't sure if I was going to give it a video all of its own, because technically, Akurra is just a demo. Yeah, it's technically a demo. At first I thought that disqualified it. I'll leave Akurra in that longer itch.io video, and then I thought about it for a bit, and realised that while Akurra is a demo, it's a 2.5 hour long demo. That's already longer than Perspective, that's longer than Bird, and it has a fantastic level of polish already. It looks good, it sounds good, it plays well, it starts simply, then adds concepts and builds complexity, and it ends with a sense of completeness. It is, in effect, an entire standalone free game. I won that argument, admittedly against myself, and so here it is. Akurra gets a video, and it deserves one. This feels almost silly for me to say, having never really played any of these older titles, but Akurra felt to me like a Zelda game mixed in with a Sokoban style block pushing puzzler. And actually, looking at the game's site, it says the game is inspired by both Zelda and Chip's Challenge, two equally famous franchises, and I expect everyone watching will be familiar with both. Not really. Either way, it's got the feeling, in a good way, of a pre-2000s video game, and it's got the aesthetic of one too. Pixel graphics have been back in vogue for a while now, but I like the simplicity of the look here in Akurra. It's cute, it's colourful, it's easy to read, the character design reminds me a lot of Tomba, and even though they're very different games, I spent quite a lot of time while playing Akurra thinking of how much I enjoyed playing Tomba as a kid. This game also has a soundtrack that is far better than I would have expected from the demo of a low-budget, unreleased game. It's got that sort of semi-ethereal tone to it that makes every part of the game feel mystical and intriguing. I actually played the game because I heard a clip from the soundtrack and liked it so much. The whole of Akurra is a huge nostalgia kick, and if you grew up as a child playing on a Nintendo 64 or your parents' PlayStation 1, I think you'll get a kick out of how this game looks and sounds. Akurra is a puzzle game primarily. You can move blocks around but only push them in the direction your character is facing. It's a classic puzzle premise, and in fact the first time this appeared in a video game was all the way back in 1981. With this limitation in mind, you have to find ways to push blocks out of your way or into holes so that you can cross gaps, and work out how to get the blocks into positions so that you can do this. You move the block so that you can collect keys that break open keyholes of the same colour, ring gongs that destroy idols of the same colour on the screen, or collect one of the game's many other collectible types such as gold rings or light blue stars. Stars being the game's most important collectible, marked by a little sound when you pick one up. And some new areas in the game are hidden behind star requirements. It's a very 90s, early 2000s game design. Collecting these things allows you to access new levels with new puzzles. I'll add in here that what I refer to as a puzzle in Akurra is a section like this, where you can go in, move the boxes around, grab the item, and then that bit of the game is done. And what I call a level is one of these areas on the map. The reason I call these levels is that if you leave one of these sections and then return, most objects will reset to their original positions. The exceptions being any collectibles you've picked up, any locks you've already opened, and any arrow blockers that can only be destroyed from one side. Those are all permanent progress. If you want, you can deliberately reset a level yourself by pressing the right bumper if playing with a controller, and you can solve levels in whatever order you like as long as you have access to them, and sometimes levels can have multiple puzzles within them. This area, for example, has 3 puzzles, each of which plays on the mechanic of the bamboo floors, which only allow you to cross once before breaking and collapse under the weight of a box. But while these are separate puzzles, you have to get through all 3 in one go, because resetting or dying brings back all the idols and gongs. As it turns out, the game also has a button to undo the last individual movement you made, which is a lovely quality of life feature, but I didn't realise that at the time. Also, if Akurra ever comes out on Steam, I think completing this room without using the undo button would be a very nice early game achievement. You know, make some other players do it the same stupid way that I did. While I was playing, I noticed there were some items and some stars that looked like they were impossible to actually reach. But then later on in the game, once I'd found more of these things, I'm not really sure what they are, I went back to this god being that I'd seen before, and now that I had enough of that collectible, this god turned all the golden coloured rocks in the game into golden rock golems. The golden rock golems would roll when you pushed them, and so now I could go back to previous levels and complete puzzles with the rock golems that couldn't be solved before. It's a puzzle Metroidvania. The puzzles start off fairly simple but do build into more complex challenges later in the game. My two favourites being this area with 4 separate platforms that can only be reached in one specific order through a route through 4 different coloured teleporters, and this level where you control both yourself and an evil doppelganger that mirrors your movement. If you've completed a stage being a collection of levels that all show up on the same map, then you can travel to new places on the back of a turtle, and even get to control that turtle in the overworld, which is a great touch. Jumping on the back of a giant turtle and heading out to sea sounds like the start of a fantastical adventure story about a young explorer, and in some ways I think it's this idea that makes Akurra so much fun. It's not just that it has good puzzles, it does, don't get me wrong, but even more than that, Akurra is a game that makes you want to explore, and then rewards you for exploring. Because the game looks so inviting and sounds so mysterious, you want to explore everything to see what's hidden, and almost every new level has a route into another level. And so if you do something clever or solve a puzzle, you not only get rewarded with a collectible, but you get to see what the next level is, and then the next one. And then out of nowhere you realise you've picked up 7 stars and there's a whole new stage for you to explore on the other side of the map. And it's not just the set puzzles that encourage and reward this exploration. Akurra is full of secrets and hidden details. Moments where you look at something that looks slightly different, or the map hints at a new possible level and you think, what if I just... or I wonder if I could... or maybe I could do this. And then you try it, and it works. Akurra rewards you for looking around and thinking and trying and exploring. And so when I completed a stage for the first time and suddenly the game expanded out beyond the original levels and out into an ocean, a geographical feature almost synonymous with exploration, it fit the tone perfectly. Also, as a small detail, your walking speed in Akurra feels a lot faster than it does in most games that I play, and that minor change took a huge amount of friction out of going back through all the previous levels to access new areas. I really enjoyed Akurra, and if you want to check it out, the link for the game's website is in the description, and I definitely think that it's worth playing, and you'll get an excellent retro puzzle adventure that will last 1 or 2 sittings. As for the game's eventual full release, the developer's plan is currently to build interest in a future Kickstarter and then take that route to funding the game. This video is absolutely not a recommendation to back any Kickstarter projects, just to check out the game as it currently exists. I'm always cautious of Kickstarters for video games, and I tend to be on the side of waiting for a Kickstarter campaign to finish, and then buying only if the game is actually completed. But that's not to say that Kickstarters can't result in top indie games. Philip Buchanan's 39 Days to Mars, for example, came through Kickstarter, and is a wonderfully whimsical and British adventure about voyaging to the Red Planet. And if you want to hear more about that game, then there's a video for you on the screen. See that? I can write good segues. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.